The marketplace smelled like 1,000 different worlds, all mixed together. Hannah Kim held her son's hand tightly as they walked past vendors selling struts and glowing liquids. Trading Station Nexus 7 was not like the human colonies back home. Here, humans were rare. Here, they were the aliens. Suho pulled on her hand, his eyes wide with excitement. The boy was only 6 years old, and everything fascinated him. A tall creature with blue skin was selling what looked like floating crystals. Another vendor, covered in green scales, was roasting something that smelled terrible to Hannah, but must have been delicious to someone. "Mama, look at that one." Suho pointed at a merchant with 8 arms arranging colorful bottles on a high shelf. "Don't point, honey," Hannah said softly. "It's rude." She had been living on this station for 4 years now. Her job was fixing the big machines that made air for everyone to breathe. It was good work, and it paid well. Better than anything she could get back on Earth. But it meant raising Suho here, in this strange place where humans were just one species among hundreds. Most aliens ignored them. Some stared with curiosity. A few were friendly. Hannah had learned which vendors sold food that humans could actually eat. She had learned which corridors to avoid at night. She had learned how to live here, but she never forgot that humans were considered weak by galactic standards. The Galactic Trade Consortium had only accepted humanity 15 years ago. Compared to species that had been traveling space for thousands of years, humans were babies. Compared to species with natural armor, claws, or venom, humans were soft and defenseless. Even a 6-year-old child from some species could easily hurt an adult human. This was why Hannah was always careful, always watching. And today, she noticed something wrong. A merchant had been following them. She first saw him 3 corridors back, near the human food vendor. Then she saw him again when they stopped to look at Suho's favorite toy shop. Now, as she paid for a package of nutrient bars, she saw him again, pretending to examine goods at a nearby stall. He was a Krillian. Hannah recognized the species from the station database. 8 limbs, chitinous armor covering most of his body, and about 2 meters tall. His name tag said Vralkith. Krillians were known as traders, but they were also known for something else. Rumors said some of them traded in illegal goods. Living goods. Hannah's heart started beating faster. She told herself she was being paranoid. Maybe he was just shopping like everyone else. Maybe she was imagining things. But a mother's instinct is a powerful thing. And her instinct was screaming that something was wrong. She paid for the nutrient bars quickly and took Suho's hand again. "Come on, sweetie. Time to go home." "But Mama, you said we could get ice cream." "Later, Suho. We'll come back later." She walked faster now, heading toward the main corridor that led to the residential sectors. That corridor had more security cameras. More people. Safety. But Vralkith was still following them. She could hear his limbs clicking on the metal floor behind them. Click, click, click. Getting closer, Hannah's mind raced. Should she run? Should she scream for help? The station had security, but they took time to respond. Everyone knew that. The marketplace was huge, and security couldn't be everywhere at once. She looked around at the other aliens in the corridor. A group of small, furry creatures scurried past. A tall being with 4 eyes walked by without looking at them. No one seemed to care about one human woman and her child. No one would help if something happened. Humans had no allies here. Not really. They were too new, too unknown, too weak. Vralkith was getting closer. Hannah could feel it. She squeezed Suho's hand tighter and walked even faster. Just a little further to the main corridor. Just a little further to safety. Then Suho said something that made her heart stop. "Mama, why is that man following us?" Children notice things. They see the world differently than adults. And Suho had noticed what Hannah had been trying to hide from him. "It's okay, baby. Just keep walking." But it wasn't okay, because at that moment, Hana stopped at a vendor to pay for the nutrient pack she had picked up. It took only a second. She reached into her pocket for her credit chip. 1 second of distraction. That was all Vrolkith needed. 3 of his limbs shot forward with incredible speed. They wrapped around Suho before Hana could even register what was happening. The boy screamed as he was lifted off the ground. The nutrient packs fell from Hana's hands, scattering across the floor. Suho! Everything happened in slow motion and too fast at the same time. Hana reached for her son, but Vrolkith was already pulling him away. The Krillion's chitinous face showed no emotion. To him, this was just business. Just a valuable commodity he was collecting. Human children were rare in this sector of space. Rare things were valuable, and some collectors would pay enormous amounts of money for rare, living specimens. The marketplace erupted in chaos. Aliens scattered in every direction. Some screamed. Most just moved away, not wanting to get involved. This was not their problem. This was not their species. In the rough marketplace of Nexus 7, you learn not to interfere in other people's business. Hana screamed again. Help! Someone help! But no help came. Security was too far away. The other aliens were too afraid or too indifferent. Vrolkith started moving toward a side corridor, carrying Suho. The boy was crying, struggling, but his small human arms were nothing against the Krillion's strength. In a few more seconds, they would disappear into the maze of corridors. In a few more minutes, they would be on a ship. In a few more hours, Suho would be gone forever. Hana's mind cleared. The panic faded away, replaced by something cold and hard. She was not going to let this happen. She was not going to lose her son. Her hand went to her pocket. Not for the credit chip this time. For her keys. They were simple keys, made of machine metal. One key opened their apartment. Another started their ground transport vehicle. The key fob was solid, with pointed edges designed for grip. It was maybe 10 centimeters long, made of tough alloy metal. To anyone else, it was just a tool. Just a way to unlock doors and start engines. But to Hana, in that moment, it became something else entirely. She closed her fist around the keys, feeling the metal bite into her palm. The pointed end stuck out between her fingers like a blade. It was not much of a weapon. Any galactic warrior would laugh at it, but it was what she had. And it would have to be enough, because the galaxy was about to learn something about humans that no database had recorded. Something that no scientist had studied. Something that every human mother knew deep in her bones. Never, ever threaten a human's child. Hana ran forward, keys clutched in her fist, and Vrolkith never saw her coming. Vrolkith heard the human female screaming behind him, but he paid no attention. Humans always screamed. They were emotional creatures, prone to panic. He had researched them before deciding to take the child. They had no natural weapons. No claws, no venom, no enhanced strength. Their bite force was pathetic. Their skin tore easily. In his 8 limbs, he held the struggling boy securely. The child was crying, calling for his mother. Vrolkith felt nothing about this. He was a businessman. This human child would sell for enough credits to retire comfortably. Some collector in the Outer Rim would pay a fortune for such a rare specimen. He was 3 steps from the side corridor. 3 more steps and he would be in the maze of service passages that ran through the station. Security would never find him in time. The human woman would file a report, of course. There would be an investigation. But by then, he would be gone, and so would the child. 3 steps to freedom, and wealth. He never made it. Something hit him from behind with shocking force. It was not a heavy impact. The human female probably weighed less than half what he did. But she hit him with all her momentum, and more importantly, she hit him with purpose. Her arm wrapped around his midsection limbs for leverage. And then something sharp drove into the joint where his upper right limb connected to his body. Pain exploded through Vrolketh's nervous system. The joint was a vulnerable spot. It had to be. Joints needed flexibility, which meant less armor, less protection. He had never worried about this before. What species would be stupid enough to attack a fully grown Krillian? What species would even think to target such a small, specific weak point? Humans, apparently. The sharp thing twisted. Purple blood sprayed from the wound. Vrolketh shrieked, a sound that echoed through the marketplace like a siren. His limbs spasmed in shock and pain. The human child fell from his grip, hitting the floor and immediately scrambling away. Vrolketh spun around, trying to dislodge the human female, but she held on. Through his pain, he saw what she had used to stab him. A key fob. A simple piece of metal used to unlock vehicles. The pointed end was now slick with his blood. Rage replaced pain. How dare this weak creature attack him? How dare she wound him with a toy? Two of his limbs swung at her like clubs. Each limb could crush bone. Each strike could kill a human easily. But the female did something he did not expect. She dropped low, below his strikes, and rolled forward. Her small size suddenly became an advantage. His powerful limbs whistled through empty air above her head. She came up inside his guard, too close for him to hit properly. And those keys were still in her hand, still dripping his blood. The marketplace had gone silent. Everyone was watching now. Aliens from a dozen different species stood frozen, staring at the impossible scene before them. A human was fighting a Krillian. A human female. With keys, it should have been laughable. It should have been over in seconds, but Hannah was not laughing, and she was not stopping. She drove the keys toward his primary eye cluster. Vrolketh jerked his head back just in time, and the metal scraped across his armored faceplate instead. The sound was horrible, like nails on metal. But it did not penetrate. He swung again with three limbs at once. This time, he clipped her shoulder. She spun from the impact but did not fall. Human bones were fragile. That hit should have shattered her shoulder. But somehow, she kept moving. Adrenaline, if Vrolketh had known the human term. Her body was flooded with it. Chemicals that blocked pain, increased strength, sharpened focus. Every human had this emergency system built into their biology. It was what allowed their primitive ancestors to fight off predators twice their size. It was what allowed them to survive on a death world full of things that wanted to eat them. Hannah felt the pain in her shoulder, but it was distant, unimportant. All that mattered was stopping this creature. All that mattered was protecting Suho. She could see her son out of the corner of her eye, huddled against a wall, safe for now. But he would not stay safe. If she failed so she could not fail. She ducked under another swing and targeted the joint on his lower left limb. The keys punched through the thin armor, and more purple blood flowed. Vrolketh stumbled, his balance disrupted. Krillians needed all 8 limbs for stability. Damaged too, and they became clumsy. But he was not done. One limb caught her across the ribs. She heard something crack, felt something break inside her. The pain tried to overwhelm her, but she pushed it down into a place where it could not touch her. Move. Keep moving. Stop moving and die. She targeted another joint. Missed. The keys scraped across his armor again. He grabbed for her with 4 limbs at once, trying to trap her, trying to crush her. She twisted like a snake, her flexible spine allowing movements his rigid body could not match. Humans were not strong, but they were flexible. They were fast. They were smart. And they were absolutely terrifying when they stopped caring about their own safety. Hannah stopped thinking about defense. She stopped worrying about getting hurt. She pressed her attack with single-minded focus. Keys found another joint. Blood sprayed. Vrolketh screamed again, The watching aliens could not believe what they were seeing. Humans were supposed to be weak. They were supposed to be harmless. They had been allowed into the Galactic Trade Consortium because they were good with machines and could be exploited for cheap labor. No. One had told them that humans were capable of this. Vralkith tried to back away, suddenly reconsidering his plan. This was not worth it. The child was not worth this. He just wanted to escape now, to get away from this insane creature that would not stop attacking. But Hannah did not let him retreat. She pressed forward, and her face was twisted in rage. She was not screaming in fear anymore. Now she was screaming in fury. The sound was primal, ancient, the sound of a mother defending her young. Every species understood that sound on some level. It was universal. But humans had refined it into something special. Something terrible. She went for his breathing spiracles now, the openings along his torso where he drew air. Vralkith tried to protect them, but he was bleeding from multiple wounds. His limbs were damaged, and his movements were getting slower. The keys found the primary spiracle. Drove in, twisted. Vralkith went down. He fell hard, his chitinous body hitting the metal floor with a sound like breaking pottery. He gasped, struggling to breathe, purple blood pooling around him. His limbs twitched but could no longer support his weight. Hannah stood over him, chest heaving, blood on her hands. Some of it was purple. Some of it was red. Her ribs were broken. Her shoulder was dislocated. Her face was bruised and bleeding, but she was standing. And Vralkith was not. The marketplace remained silent. No one moved. No one spoke. They all just stared at the human female who had done the impossible. In the distance, security alarms finally started blaring. Officer Tapark and his team were on their way. But they were too late. The fight was already over, and everything had changed. Officer Tapark ran through the marketplace corridor with his team behind him. The emergency call had come in 3 minutes ago. Kidnapping attempt. Human child. He had responded immediately, but 3 minutes was a long time. Too long. He expected to find a crying mother in an empty space where her child used to be. What he found instead made him stop in his tracks. Quillian Merchant lay on the ground in a pool of purple blood. His 8 limbs twitched weakly. His breathing spiracles made wet, gasping sounds. He was alive, but badly injured. Very badly injured. Standing over him was Hannah Kim. Tay recognized her. She lived in Section 7C, same residential area as him. He had seen her in the hallways, always holding her son's hand, always quiet and polite. She worked in atmospheric maintenance. A good job. A normal person. But the woman standing before him now did not look normal. Her clothes were torn and stained with blood, both purple and red. Her face was bruised, one eye already swelling shut. She held her left arm at a strange angle, shoulder clearly dislocated. Her breathing was shallow and painful, probably broken ribs. In her right hand, she still clutched a key fob, the metal slick with blood, and her eyes. Her eyes were wild, fierce, still full of adrenaline and rage. Behind her, pressed against the wall, was little Suho. The boy was crying but appeared unharmed. He was safe. That was what mattered. "Officer Tay," Hannah said. Her voice was rough, strained. "This Krillian tried to take my son. I stopped him." Tay looked at the scene again. Hannah probably weighed 60 kilograms. Vralkith probably weighed 150. Hannah had no weapons except keys. Vralkith had 8 limbs covered in natural armor. By every logical measure, Hannah should be dead. The Krillian should be walking away with her son, but logic had not accounted for a mother's fury. "Medical team to Marketplace Section 3. Tay spoke into his communicator. 2 injured. 1 critical. He looked at Hannah. "You need medical attention." "My son first," Hannah said. Check my son. Ma'am, you're badly hurt. My son first. Her voice echoed through the marketplace. Several aliens flinched. Tay held up his hands in a calming gesture. Okay, we'll check him. One of the medical team members approached Suho carefully. The boy clung to his mother but allowed the examination. He's fine, the medic reported. Scared, but no injuries. Only then did Hana's legs give out. She collapsed, and Tay caught her before she hit the ground. The keys finally fell from her hand, clattering on the metal floor. Get her to medical, Tay ordered. Now, as they loaded Hana onto a stretcher, other security officers secured the scene. They'd put restraints on Vralkith, though he was in no condition to escape. They started interviewing witnesses, and they reviewed the security footage. The footage would later go viral across the entire galactic network. But for now, it was just evidence. Tay watched the recording on his portable screen. He saw Vralkith grab the child. He saw Hana's attack. He watched her target vulnerable joints with precision. He saw her ignore injuries that should have stopped her. He watched her bring down a creature 3 times her size with nothing but keys and determination. Sir, one of his officers said quietly, Should we arrest her too? She did attack a merchant. Tay looked at the officer like he was insane. Are you serious? She defended her child from a kidnapper. Yes, but the use of force. She nearly killed him. He tried to kidnap a 6-year-old child, Tay said coldly. As far as I'm concerned, she showed remarkable restraint by letting him live. Now secure the prisoner and gather evidence. At the medical center, doctors worked on Hana. 3 broken ribs, dislocated shoulder, severe bruising, multiple lacerations, but nothing life-threatening. Humans were surprisingly durable for such a soft species. Administrator Yuna Lee arrived while they were still treating Hana. She was the station commander, responsible for everything that happened on Nexus 7. A situation like this was her worst nightmare. An attempted kidnapping, a violent confrontation, potential diplomatic incident. She found Tay in the hallway outside medical. Report, she said. Tay told her everything, showed her the footage, explained what the witnesses had said. Yuna watched the recording 3 times. Her expression did not change, but Tay knew her well enough to see she was disturbed. This is going to cause problems, she said finally. What kind of problems? The Krillian Trade Association will file a complaint. They'll say we're allowing violence against their merchants. Other species will start questioning whether humans are safe to have on the station. She rubbed her temples. We've worked so hard to build trust, to show that humans can integrate into galactic society. And now they see that we're not as helpless as they thought, Tay finished. Yuna looked at him sharply. Is that what you think this is? A demonstration of power? No, it's a demonstration of survival. That woman did what any parent would do. She protected her child. Most species would have called for help and waited. Most species have claws or armor or venom. We don't. So we learn to use what we have. Our intelligence. Our tools. Our willingness to do whatever it takes. Tay met her eyes. That's how humanity survived, isn't it? That's how we made it to the stars, despite having no natural weapons. We turned everything into a weapon. Yuna was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, the footage is already spreading. Someone recorded it on their personal device and uploaded it to the galactic network. By tomorrow, every species in known space will have seen it. Good, Tay said. Maybe next time someone thinks about targeting a human child, they'll remember this. In the medical room, Hana woke up with Suho sleeping in a chair beside her bed. Her whole body hurt. The painkillers were helping, but she could still feel every injury. The doctor said she would need at least 2 weeks to recover, but Suho was safe. That was all that mattered. A nurse came in, a gentle creature with blue tentacles and kind eyes. "How are you feeling?" "Like I fought a Krillian," Hana said, trying to smile. "You are very brave," the nurse said softly. "Everyone is talking about what you did. You are a hero." "I'm not a hero. I'm just a mother." But the nurse shook her head. "To many humans on this station, you are a hero. You showed that we are not helpless. You showed that we can fight back." Hana looked at Suho. He looked so peaceful sleeping there. So innocent. He would have nightmares about this for weeks, maybe months. But he was alive. He was safe. And everyone in the galaxy now knew that human mothers were not to be trifled with. "I need to make a call," Hana said. "I need to report to work that I'll be late." The nurse's tentacles waved in what Hana had learned was amusement. "Your supervisor already knows." She said, "Take all the time you need." She also said, the nurse hesitated. "What?" "She said she's proud to have you on her team. She said any species that underestimated humans made a terrible mistake." Hana closed her eyes. She did not feel proud. She felt tired and hurt and scared. But she also felt something else. Something she had not felt much since coming to Nexus 7. She felt like maybe, just maybe, humans belonged here after all. The video spread across the galactic network like wildfire. Within hours, beings on 1,000 different worlds had watched Hana Kim fight Vrolkith. Within a day, it had been viewed billions of times. Within 3 days, it became the most watched piece of media in the entire Galactic Trade Consortium. The reaction was immediate and massive. On the Vulthian homeworld, a news analyst played the footage for her audience. Her compound eyes reflected the light as she watched. "Notice how the human targets the joint articulations," she said. "This shows tactical thinking under extreme stress. The human brain, despite being smaller than most sentient species, can process complex spatial information and make instant decisions. We have underestimated their intelligence." On Krill Prime, the Krillian homeworld, the Trade Association held an emergency meeting. They watched the video in angry silence. One of their own had been humiliated by a human female, with keys. "This is unacceptable," said High Merchant Krelvax. "We demand punishment for this attack." But another merchant, older and wiser, shook his head. "We should demand punishment for Vrolkith. He attempted to kidnap a child. He broke galactic law. The human was defending her offspring. Any species has that right. But the level of violence, would you not fight to protect your eggs?" The old merchant asked. "Would you not use whatever tools you had? The human did nothing we would not do in the same situation. The difference is, we assumed humans could not fight effectively. We were wrong." The debate raged for hours, but in the end, the Krillian Trade Association quietly withdrew their complaint. They knew that public opinion was against them. They knew that the video made Vrolkith look like what he was, a criminal who got what he deserved. On Earth, the video was shown in every news broadcast. Humans watched with a mixture of pride and shock. Hana Kim became a household name overnight. She became a symbol of human resilience, human ingenuity, human courage. But the most interesting reactions came from the other species on Trading Station Nexus-7. In the marketplace. Vendors who used to ignore human customers now watched them carefully. Not with contempt anymore, with caution, with respect. When Hannah's friend Mina went shopping 2 days later, a large reptilian merchant who used to push past humans actually stepped aside to let her pass. "After you," he said politely. Mina was shocked. This merchant had never shown humans any courtesy before, but she smiled and nodded and went on her way. Things were changing. At the security office, Tay Park watched the changes happen in real time. Crime reports involving human victims dropped by 60% in 3 days. Merchants who used to cheat human customers on prices suddenly became fair. Aliens who used to crowd humans on walkways gave them space. "They're afraid of us now," one of the human security officers said. He sounded pleased, but Tay shook his head. "Not afraid, wary. There's a difference. Fear means they'll avoid us. Wariness means they'll respect us." Still, not all the reactions were positive. Some species began requesting transfers off the station. A group of insectoid merchants filed a complaint saying they no longer felt safe around humans. They claimed humans were too unpredictable, too violent, too dangerous. Administrator Yuna Lee had to hold a press conference to address these concerns. She stood at the podium in her crisp uniform. Cameras from a dozen different media outlets focused on her. "Let me be clear," she said. Hannah Kim acted in self-defense of her child. She did not initiate violence. She responded to a kidnapping attempt. Any species, any parent would have done the same. The fact that she succeeded with minimal tools only shows human resourcefulness. It does not indicate that humans are inherently violent. A reporter, a floating sphere of gas with a mechanical voice box, asked, "But is it true that humans can override their survival instincts? That they can choose to fight even when injured?" Yuna considered her answer carefully. This was dangerous territory. Humans have strong adrenaline responses, yes. In extreme situations, our bodies can temporarily ignore pain and fear. But this is not unique to humans. Many species have similar emergency responses, but the intensity is a product of our evolution. Yuna interrupted. Humans evolved on a difficult world. We had no natural weapons, so we learned to be clever. We learned to use tools. We learned to work together. And yes, we learned to be persistent. These traits helped us survive. They do not make us monsters. Another reporter asked, "What message does this incident send to the galaxy?" Yuna smiled slightly. It sends the message that humans are more capable than many believed. We can defend ourselves. We can adapt. We can overcome challenges. But it also sends another message. Do not threaten our families. Any species that respects family bonds will understand this. The press conference was broadcast across the network. It helped calm some of the concerns, but the debate continued on social media and news outlets for weeks. Meanwhile, at the Galactic Trade Consortium headquarters, a different conversation was taking place. The Council of Species had convened to discuss what they were now calling the human question. "Perhaps we were too hasty in granting them access to all sectors," said the Vraxian representative, a tall being with crystalline skin. "If humans are capable of such violence..." "Violence?" interrupted the Torlian representative. A mother defended her child. "Would you not do the same? My species lays eggs, and we guard them with our lives. Why should humans be different?" "Because they are supposed to be weak," the Vraxian said. "We allowed them into the consortium based on that assessment. If the assessment was wrong, we need to reevaluate." "The assessment was not wrong," said a new voice. It was Ambassador Chen Wei, humanity's representative to the council. He stood up slowly, his aged face serious. "Humans are physically weak. We have no claws, no armor, no venom. Everything you thought about our physical limitations is true." "Then how?" "You forgot about our minds," Chen said simply. "You forgot that intelligence is also a weapon. You forgot that determination can overcome physical weakness. You forgot that humans have survived for millions of years on a death world by being smarter and more stubborn than everything that wanted to eat us." Hannah Kim did not win because she was strong. She won because she was clever, determined, and absolutely unwilling to accept defeat. The council chamber was silent. "You see humans as weak," Chum continued. "And you are right. But you are also wrong. We are weak individually. But we are strong in ways you did not measure. We are strong in our minds, our courage, our refusal to quit. And yes, we are strong in our love for our children. That strength is not physical, but it is very, very real. He sat down. The council members looked at each other uncomfortably. Finally, the council chairman spoke. The human species will remain in a consortium with full privileges. However, we recommend that all member species review their protocols regarding human families. It appears that threatening a human's offspring is inadvisable. Back on Trading Station Nexus 7, Hana was unaware of these high-level discussions. She was just trying to recover. Her ribs hurt. Her shoulder hurt. Everything hurt. But the doctor said she was healing well. Humans healed fast, another trait that surprised alien medical staff. Suho stayed close to her. He had nightmares about the Krillian, but he was getting better. Child psychologists said he would be fine with time. On the 5th day, Administrator Yuna Lee visited Hana in medical. "How are you feeling?" Yuna asked. "Like I got hit by a cargo transport," Hana said. "But alive. You've become famous, you know. The whole galaxy is talking about you." Hana groaned. "I don't want to be famous. I just want to go home and hug my son and forget this ever happened." Yuna smiled sadly. "I understand. But whether you want it or not, you've changed things. For all humans. They respect us now. Or at least they're starting to." "Good," Hana said. "Maybe that means fewer of us will be victims." "Maybe," Yuna agreed. She paused, then said, "The Krillian Vralkith is going to prison. We found evidence of his trafficking operation. He's been doing this for years, not just to humans. You stopped him." Hana closed her eyes. "I just wanted to save my son." "You did. And you saved others too. Future victims who will never be taken because Vralkith is now in prison." After Yuna left, Hana lay in bed thinking. She never wanted to be a hero. She never wanted to change how the galaxy saw humans. She just wanted to live her life, do her job, raise her son. But sometimes, life had other plans. Sometimes, one moment changed everything. And sometimes, a mother with car keys could change the galaxy. 2 weeks after the incident, Hana returned to work. Her ribs were still tender, but the doctor said she was healed enough for light duty. She wore her usual maintenance uniform and carried her tool bag just like always. But nothing felt the same when she walked through the corridors to the atmospheric processing center. Other beings stopped and stared. Some nodded respectfully. Some moved aside to give her space. A few actually smiled at her, if their anatomy allowed for smiling at work. Her supervisor, a human woman named Yoonji, hugged her carefully. "Welcome back. How are you feeling? Better? Ready to work? Take it slow today. Just diagnostics and monitoring. No heavy lifting." But even at work, things were different. The alien technicians, who usually ignored the human workers, now greeted her. A Velfian engineer who had never spoken to Hana before brought her a cup of tea during break. "Is this for me?" Hana asked, surprised. The Velfian's compound eyes blinked. "Yes, I researched human comfort beverages. This one is supposed to be soothing. I apologize if I prepared it incorrectly." Hana took the cup, touched. "Thank you. This is very kind." After the Velfian left, Yoonji whispered, "That's the 3rd species that's brought you gifts this week." Word really got around. That evening, Hana picked up Suho from the station's human school. The boy ran to her with a drawing he had made. It showed 2 stick figures holding hands. "That's you and me, Mama," Suho said proudly. "It's beautiful, honey." She knelt down carefully to hug him. Her ribs protested, but she did not care. "Are you ready to go home? Can we go through the marketplace?" Suho asked. I want to see the toy shop. Hannah hesitated. She had been avoiding the marketplace. The memories were too fresh. But she could not avoid it forever. They lived here. This was their home. Okay, she said. But you stay close to me. They walked through the marketplace together, hand in hand. Hannah's heart beat faster as they approached the spot where Vrolkith had grabbed Suho. But the blood was gone now. The vendors were different. Life had moved on, and something had changed. The crowds parted for them naturally. No one pushed. No one crowded them. Vendors greeted them politely. One merchant, a large reptilian being, even offered Suho a free treat. For the brave human child, the merchant said, in rough but understandable standard. Suho looked at his mother, unsure. Hannah checked the treat carefully. It was safe for human consumption. What do you say? Thank you, Suho said happily, taking the bright purple candy dot as they walked. Hannah realized that other humans were shopping in the marketplace too. More than before. They looked confident, unafraid. They walked with their heads up. One human man was actually arguing with a vendor over prices, something that would have been unthinkable before. Humans used to just accept whatever price they were given, but not anymore. Later that week, Officer Taypark invited Hannah for coffee at a small cafe in the human sector. It was a quiet place where humans gathered to feel less alien, to drink familiar beverages, and speak their own languages. How are you adjusting? Tay asked as they sat down. It's strange, Hannah admitted. People treat me differently now. Like I'm special. But I'm not. I just did what any mother would do. You did what any human mother would do, Tay corrected. And that's what made it special. Other species are starting to understand that humans are different. Not weaker, just different. He pulled up a datapad and showed her something. Look at this. Crime statistics for the past 2 weeks. Incidents involving human victims are down 70%. Verbal harassment is down 80%. Physical confrontations, down 90%. Hannah stared at the numbers. Because of what I did? Because the galaxy learned a lesson. They learned that humans might be physically weak, but we're not helpless. We're smart. We're resourceful. And we do not give up. Tay leaned forward. Do you know what the most common phrase is on alien social media right now? Never threaten a human's offspring. You created that phrase. You made it real. I never wanted any of this. I know. But you have it anyway. And you know what? It's making life better for every human in the galaxy. Parents feel safer. Children feel safer. We're not the bottom of the food chain anymore. Hannah sipped her coffee slowly. She thought about what Tay said. She thought about the respectful nods in the corridors, the gifts from coworkers, the vendors treating humans fairly, the crowds parting. Was this what respect felt like? Was this what it meant to be taken seriously? A few days later, a journalist from a major galactic news network requested an interview. At first, Hannah refused. But Administrator Yuna Lee convinced her that it would be good for human relations. One interview to tell her story properly. So Hannah found herself sitting in front of cameras, facing a Torlian journalist whose scale shimmered under the lights. Hannah Kim, thank you for speaking with us, the journalist began. The entire galaxy has seen the footage of your confrontation with Vrolkith. What went through your mind in that moment? Hannah took a deep breath. I did not think. I just acted. He had my son. I had to get my son back. But you must have known you were physically outmatched. Krillians are much stronger than humans. Were you not afraid? Of course I was afraid. But being afraid did not matter. My son's safety mattered. Everything else was just noise. Some species say humans are dangerous because of incidents like this. That you are too unpredictable. What do you say to that? Hannah met the camera directly. I say that humans are exactly as predictable as any other species. We protect our families. We defend our children. We will use whatever tools we have to survive. If that makes us dangerous, then every species is dangerous. The difference is that other species assumed we could not fight back. They were wrong. What would you say to other humans living on mixed species stations? Hannah thought carefully about her answer. I would say, do not be afraid. You are stronger than you think. Not physically, but in other ways. Your mind is a weapon. Your determination is a weapon. Your refusal to quit is a weapon. Use them. And never let anyone make you believe you are weak. The interview was broadcast across the network. It was viewed almost as many times as the original video. Hannah's words became a rallying cry for humans everywhere. A month after the incident, Hannah's life began to feel normal again. Her injuries had healed. Suho's nightmares became less frequent. Work was good. Life went on, but the changes remained. Humans on trading station Nexus 7 walked taller now. They spoke up more. They demanded fair treatment and usually got it. Crime against humans stayed low. The marketplace was safe. One evening, Hana walked through that same marketplace with Suho, just like they used to. They bought groceries. They looked at toys. They ate ice cream at Suho's favorite vendor. And as they walked home, Hana still carried her keys in her pocket. The same keys. She had cleaned the blood off, but she kept them. A reminder. A symbol. She never wanted to use them as a weapon again. But if she had to, she would. Because she was a mother. Because she was human. Because she knew now what she was capable of. They passed the spot where Vralkith had grabbed Suho. Hana paused there for just a moment. Suho looked up at her, and she smiled down at him. Are you okay, Mama? I'm fine, baby. Just remembering. Remembering what? Remembering that we're stronger than we think. Suho did not fully understand, but he smiled anyway. They walked on together, hand in hand, through the marketplace where aliens and humans shopped side by side in peace. On a bench nearby, Officer Tay Park watched them go. He was not on duty, but he made a habit of keeping an eye on the marketplace now, making sure everyone was safe. He saw Hana and Suho disappear into the crowd. Just another mother and child going about their day. Just another human family living their life on a station far from Earth. But Tay knew the truth. He knew that nothing was just anything anymore. Hanakim had changed things. She had shown the galaxy who humans really were. Not the weakest species. Not the most helpless. But perhaps the most dangerous when pushed too far. Because humans did not have claws. They did not have armor. They did not have venom dot, but they had something better. They had intelligence, determination, and love for their families. They had the ability to turn anything into a weapon. They had the refusal to ever give up dot, and now, finally, the galaxy knew it. Tay finished his coffee and stood up. Time to go home. But as he walked through the station, he noticed something that made him smile. Human children playing in the recreational areas, unafraid. Human workers laughing with alien colleagues. Human families shopping without fear. This was Hana's real legacy. Not the fight, not the violence, but the peace that came after. The respect that humans had earned. The safety that they now enjoyed. He pulled out his communicator and sent a message to Hana. Thank you for what you did. Not just for Suho, for all of us. Her reply came a few minutes later. I just did what any mother would do. But that was exactly the point, Tay thought. That was exactly what made it so powerful. Hannah had not tried to be a hero. She had not tried to make a statement. She had simply been herself. A human, a mother, a person willing to fight with everything she had for what she loved. And that, more than any weapon or armor or superhuman strength, was what made humans truly formidable. The galaxy would never forget the day Hannah Kim turned car keys into lethal tools. And they would never underestimate humanity again.